Why mess with success that way?
You want to have fun having that type of success. I take things too far. It's who I am. I never said those words, did I? They treated me poorly, but the show's great.
Have you ever thought about what would happen if a famous person did something wrong on live TV? What if they did something wrong and were kicked off the show?
Here's the thing, when you do something so outrageously wrong, so criminal, it just kind of crowds everything off the radar screen, doesn't it? Tell it to a judge and see how that sounds.
Today, we're going to talk about the shocking times when the Dr. Phill show turned down famous guests. From rage to crazy behavior, we're finding out the stories behind why they were sent away. Believe me, you won't want to miss this. Watch on to see who made it and who didn't. Number 10. Wayne Newton. Wayne Newton, who was known as Mr. Las Vegas, was more than just a show. His name was linked to the bright lights of Las Vegas, the flashy stage shows, and the draw of fame for many years. People came to his shows because they were mesmerized by his smooth voice and big personality. But Wayne wasn't immune to attack, even with all of that. That's where things went badly. The story that changed everything happened on Johnny Carson's show, The Tonight Show. Carson, who was known for his quick wit and cheeky humor, made a joke about Newton's hair by saying that it was like plants that need sunshine to grow. Carson's usual one-liner joke was funny, but Newton didn't think it was funny. The next thing that happened shocked everyone. Wayne stormed backstage, clearly angry, and told Carson to stop making fun of him. He had a very bad temper. He wasn't just mad, he was also frightening. That's when things got worse. Let's picture this happening on The Dr. Phill Show. If Newton had been in front of the camera, Dr. Phill would have been very close to him. Because of his well-known no-nonsense attitude, Dr. Phill doesn't put up with outbursts or threats. Newton's anger, which came from his weak ego, would have been met with quick action. Dr. Phill doesn't think twice about keeping control of his show. It would have been clear. Newton did something wrong. The ban would be put in place right away. There is no room for bullying, no matter how famous the person is. Why? Just because Dr. Phil's show isn't just about famous people, it has to do with honor. There should be respect for the process, the crowd, and the people who come to the show to get help. Newton's actions would have sent the wrong message and hurt the trust that Dr. Phill has built with his viewers. The story of Newton's exile shows that even the biggest stars need to know when they can't go beyond certain limits. It's not the first time a person has tried to break those rules, though. That's not all. The next guest was a psychic whose tricks didn't work on Dr. Phil's show. Number 09. Yuri Geller. Yuri Geller used to be a well-known name. He wasn't just a performer. He said he was psychic and could read thoughts and bend spoons. It was mysterious when Geller went on talk shows and showed off his powers to captivate crowds. People were shocked and interested. I couldn't stand the thought of someone who could bend metal with their mind alone. His so-called skills made him famous, and he went on shows like The Tonight Show and The Merv Griffin Show a lot to show them off. What was going on behind the curtain wasn't quite as magical as it seemed. Johnny Carson was the one who finally showed that Geller was a fake. Carson, who was always skeptical, had a plan when he went on The Tonight Show in 1973. Carson knew that Geller would probably try to pull off one of his famous tricks, so he had his team set up controlled conditions to stop any tricks. Carson was ready, but Geller already had his psychic spoon-bending act ready. Before Geller's show, he sealed the spoon and other things and made sure they had not been touched. When Geller couldn't do what he said he could do, his promises fell apart quickly. Carson's sharp wit showed Geller to be just a magician who used tricks and smart distractions to trick people. After being mesmerized, the crowd watched as the curtain was pulled back on the trick. That trick wouldn't have worked on the Dr. Phill show if Geller tried it there. Dr. Phill would have caught him. Dr. Phil's show is all about helping people face the truth, so lying has no place there. Geller's methods, like using claimed psychic powers to trick people, would have been caught right away. Dr. Phill would not stand for false claims that could mislead people who are easily fooled. Under Dr. Phil's watch, Geller's mental act would not last long. As soon as the fraud was found out, Geller would have been taken off the set and never come back. In the world that Dr. Phill has made, lying is not allowed. Honesty is what the Dr. Phill show is built on. Dr. Phill is proud of the fact that he gives people who need it real, honest help. People who tried to use the show to trick people or make false claims would be thrown out. Dr. Phil's image is based on being honest and helping people by telling them the truth, no matter how hard it is. Trying to trick the audience? It's not only rude, but it goes against everything the show stands for. There are people on talk shows who think they can do anything because they are well known. On the other hand, Dr. Phil's show has different rules that aren't broken by anyone, not even the so-called psychic elite. You're out if you can't keep it real, but not every person has been caught lying. Some people thought they were above the law and crossed the line with how they behaved. One of these stars wasn't just famous for dorky tricks, he was also famous for something much worse. Wait until you hear how a famous person with a big ego got fired. Number 08. Chevy Chase. The rise of Chevy Chase to fame was nothing short of spectacular. He became one of the big stars of Saturday Night Live thanks to his sharp wit and unforgettable comic timing. He became famous for his strange sense of humor and his readiness to play any role. After that, he moved on to films, and foul play made him a big star. But as his fame grew, so did his pride. It wasn't long before people realized Chevy Chase wasn't just funny. He was also a living, talking personality disaster waiting to happen. The episode on The Tonight Show in 1978 was the event that really changed how Hollywood saw Chase. Rather than talking about his work or having a real chat with Carson, Chase used his appearance to brag about how well his films were doing at the box office. He bragged, $10 million in 3 days, about how well his most recent movie did, giving the impression that he was better than everyone else. Chase didn't humble himself like most guests do. Instead, he used the interview to talk about himself. He even had the nerve to say that he could easily do better than Carson. From light-hearted banter to uncomfortable strain, the mood in the studio changed. Carson didn't like Chase's showboating because he had spent years making The Tonight Show fun and charming. During the whole conversation, it was clear that Chase's pride had worn thin. This would be the last time he could easily get on big talk shows. Now, picture this. There's Chevy Chase on the Dr. Phill show. Chase is known for having a huge ego and promoting himself, so his behavior would not go well with Dr. Phil's direct, no-nonsense style. Dr. Phill doesn't like it when people take over or change the mood of his show. He loves real, honest conversations where the guests know that their personal stories or problems, not their own self-promotion, are what's important. Because Chase has a past of being cocky, he would not be a good fit for Dr. Phil's stage. It's easy to picture what would happen. Someone trying to make Dr. Phil's show all about them would not be allowed because he values respect and being real. Chase's rude and annoying behavior would quickly stop the show's flow, forcing Dr. Phill to do something. Dr. Phill wouldn't think twice about making it clear that guests who don't fit with the show's tone or respect the stage won't be invited back. Chevy Chase, with his cocky bragging, would be the second type, which is why he would never get a second chance. There are other problems on the talk show scene besides arrogance, though. There's another guest who is known for doing amazing things that weren't what they seemed to be. Number 07, note, Bob Hope. Bob Hope was a comedy legend whose name pretty much marked the best years of TV. Because of his quick wit, charm, and uncanny ability to connect with people, he became the face of USO tours, where he performed for troops abroad, and was a regular on variety shows in the 1950s and 1960s. He had such a big impact on comedy that he was often seen as a pioneer. He changed the way TV comedy was made for generations. But as Hope's career went on, he started to rely more and more on written material, which is where the trouble started. In the late 1970s, when Hope went on The Tonight Show, his act had become less spontaneous and more planned. Carson liked to improvise and interact with his guests in real time, so Hope's well-rehearsed performance was a difficult mismatch for him. Carson loved the energy of unplanned conversations where jokes came up easily, and the dynamic between the host and guest stayed lively and new. Hope, on the other hand, stuck closely to his cue cards, telling jokes that had already been thought out and following a practiced routine. It was more like a late-night infomercial than the casual, conversational atmosphere Carson had created. Carson, who has strong feelings, didn't try to hide how he felt. It was clear that there was friction. Hope was trying to do a stand-up in a place that was designed for natural conversation, but it didn't work. Things would have gone pretty much the same way if Bob Hope had tried to go on the Dr. Phill show. The direct, no-nonsense style of Dr. Phil's show would never have let Hope's canned act go. The Dr. Phil show isn't a place for practiced answers or lines that have already been written. There, people can have real talks, and that's what makes the show successful. Hope would not be able to connect with Dr. Phil's audience because she would be reading lines from a script. People watch for real conversation, not another infomercial-style show. People wanted more real things on late-night TV, so the shows had to move away from scripted routines and towards unscripted, realistic encounters. As part of this trend, Dr. Phil's show became a place where people can expect honesty, raw emotion, and real-life conversations. Bob Hope's dependence on pre-written material made it clear that he had lost touch with what modern TV viewers want, and that was what would bring him down on Dr. Phil's show. Number 006. Don Rickles. It was said that Don Rickles had the best insult comedy. His sharp tongue could cut through anyone, no matter how popular or untouchable they were. For laughs, he made a living by making fun of famous people, audience members, and even his close friends. His jokes were honest, hard to guess, and sometimes really mean. Even though Rickles was mean, he had a charm that made his comments seem like part of his act, and people loved that about him. One of the most unique comics of his time, he could make people laugh while also putting them down. But there was a famous event that changed everything. At one point, Rickles went too far on The Tonight Show in 1976. As part of his usual act, he started making fun of Carson. But this time, his jokes went too far when he broke Johnny Carson's valuable walnut cigarette box, which was an emotional gift. The crowd was shocked. Even though Carson is usually very calm, he looked irritated, and things quickly became awkward. The scene was so hurtful that it wasn't just the prop. It was also Rickles' complete lack of respect for limits, which Carson didn't like. Their friendly relationship changed, and Carson's connection with Rickles will never be the same again. A lot of things would have been different if Rickles had been on the Dr. Phil show. The best things about Dr. Phil's show are the honest talks, personal growth, and most of all, respect for others. Rickles' crazy and often mean humor would not have fit with how Dr. Phill talks to his guests. People who cross the line between being funny and rude are not allowed to be on Dr. Phill. Rickles' style of comedy works in some places, but not in one that is meant to help people heal and deal with real-life problems. Rickles' behavior on Dr. Phil's stage would have been seen as rude. A person who disrespects other people on the show and hurts its reputation would be ejected right away. A big part of Dr. Phil's image is making sure his guests feel safe, and Rickles' famous comedy just doesn't fit with that. Dr. Phill likes comedy, but it has to come from a place of respect and not put other people down. And on Dr. Phill, that means there are no second chances to cross the line. Number 05. Chenade O'Connor. It wasn't the first time Chenade O'Connor got into trouble. She made a name for herself as one of the bravest and most rebellious artists of her time, with her strong voice and refusal to apologies. In the 1990s, she was a big deal because her music was honest, powerful, and often political. But it wasn't just O'Connor's singing that got her noticed. It was also what she did, especially her appearance on Saturday Night Live in 1992. As she sang her hit song War, she shocked everyone by tearing up a picture of Pope John Paul II live on air. The music business and the media were all abuzz in an instant. Her act of defiance was a message to the Catholic Church about its role in child abuse cases, but she got harsh criticism right away. The consequences for what O'Connor did were quick and harsh. While some people praised her for being brave enough to speak out, the majority of people in the entertainment industry turned against her. Her music was taken off the radio, and many people in the business stopped working with her. Her job, which was going in the right direction, started going in the wrong direction. People's views on O'Connor changed, and now many see her as unstable or crazy. Her acts caused a lot of controversy, which took away from her strength as a voice for social justice. The entertainment industry didn't know how to deal with her, and the fact that she was an outsider made people dislike her even more. Now picture Chenade O'Connor going on The Dr. Phill Show. Dr. Phill is known for being honest and for being able to connect with guests on a human level, which helps them understand their feelings and actions. But O'Connor is confrontational, and she often says things without thinking them through. This would probably go against Dr. Phil's goal of starting a polite and helpful conversation. O'Connor's tendency to say what she thinks without thinking about how others might feel would be a big problem on the show. Dr. Phill promotes being open and honest, but there is a thin line between sharing the truth and acting in a way that bothers other people. Because O'Connor has a past of saying things that aren't nice and pushing the limits, Dr. Phill probably would have had a hard time keeping things calm and therapeutic with her. She did things that would have slowed down the show, which is totally unacceptable in Dr. Phil's world. When O'Connor crossed that line, she would be sent away right away. Number 04. Fred Rogers. Fred Rogers was the heart and soul of the TV show Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, which taught kids what it means to be kind and gentle. For decades, he taught kids how to be kind, respectful, and understanding, making the world a safe and loving place for all kids. Rogers left behind a tradition of kindness and patience, which is very different from the fast-paced and sometimes crazy world of late-night TV. He was the personification of calm, measured words and actions. Although there is no doubt that he had a big impact on kids' TV, his style was just too calm for the fast-paced, high-energy world of late-night talk shows. Fred Rogers' topic wasn't the problem. It was how fast he spoke. Every word on a show like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood was carefully said, and every pause gave viewers a chance to think. But this slow, measured style didn't work with talk shows like The Dr. Phill Show, which moved very quickly. The format of Dr. Phill depends on keeping things moving, with short conversations, sharp insights, and guest interactions that have an effect right away. Rogers' soft, slow delivery was strong in its own way, but it wouldn't have fit in that high-pressure setting. Think about Fred Rogers trying to get on the Dr. Phill show. His behavior, even though it was likely true and comforting, would probably get in the way of the show. Guests should talk to each other quickly, answer questions briefly, and stay interested in Dr. Phil's fast-paced discussions. Rogers' calm style would make it hard for Dr. Phill to keep up the pace that would keep the show interesting. Dr. Phill is known for not wasting time and always telling his guests to face their problems straight on and get to the point. Rogers' slow, thoughtful conversation style wouldn't work well with this approach, even if Dr. Phill liked Rogers a lot. But, as late-night TV shows had to be faster and more accurate, it got harder and harder for some people to fit in. But what about those who could keep up, but their crazy personalities made it impossible for even the most adaptable hosts to handle them? Number 03. Joan Rivers. Every way you look at it, Joan Rivers paved the way. She broke new ground in the comedy world and was one of the first women to really make it in stand-up comedy and late-night TV, which are usually dominated by men. With her sharp wit, daring jokes, and unapologetically bold humor, Rivers pushed the limits of what people thought was funny. She wasn't afraid to talk about sex, getting older, and even her own personal life. But because Joan's humor often crossed the line between funny and insulting, she got a bad reputation for being controversial. Rivers' career turned a major corner when she quit The Tonight Show and its famous host, Johnny Carson, to start her own late-night talk show. Carson, who had helped Rivers grow as a person, took the move personally, and things went badly very quickly. They lost touch after Rivers left, and what used to be a close friendship turned into a nasty fight. Carson didn't want to talk to her for years because she felt hurt by the betrayal. The fight put a damper on her career for a while. She kept doing well in stand-up, but Hollywood and talk shows stopped paying attention to her. Rivers' breakup with Carson was a turning point in her career. It showed that she wasn't afraid to go after what she wanted, no matter what. You could picture Joan Rivers going on the Dr. Phill show. Rivers is rude and often fights, so she probably would have caused a lot of stress in Dr. Phil's office. The best parts of Dr. Phil's show are the honest, calm talks that are meant to help people get through their problems. But Rivers wasn't interested in deep thoughts or sensitive conversations. Instead, she liked to push people's buttons, make rude comments, and keep the conversation moving quickly and making people feel awkward. Funny stuff like this might have worked on late-night talk shows, but it would have been terrible on the Dr. Phill show. Dr. Phil's job is to help his guests deal with their problems head-on, not to let them avoid them with jokes or draw attention away from real personal growth. Dr. Phil's show is busy, so he doesn't have time for anything that takes away from that. Rivers' combative style, which comes from her comedic style, would have slowed things down and turned the talk from a real conversation to a fight. Dr. Phill cares too much about the honesty of his show to let star fights or annoying jokes steal the show. Because Rivers was ambitious, wanted to be in charge, and turned every talk into a performance, she would have been kicked off the Dr. Phill show in the end. Number 02, Bill Hicks. Bill Hicks wasn't like most comedians. He was a powerful personality who used his quick wit and bold, anti-establishment humor to question social rules and make people think deeply. Hicks wasn't just funny. He used his comedy as a tool to attack everything from religion to politics. And he did it often with a mean tone. He let his rebellious side show in his stand-up acts, and he wasn't afraid to break the rules. Hicks's humor wasn't just meant to make people laugh. It made them think about everything they thought they knew about the world. Many people saw him as a voice for those who felt left out, but his direct style made him unpopular. He told a lot of truths, and some people didn't like them. They also thought his comedy was too harsh. When Hicks went on The Late Show with David Letterman in 1993, it became one of the most famous times in her career. Even though Hicks is known for his rough and highly charged humor, he went too far this time. It wasn't funny for the network because he made fun of the media, consumerism, and even the crowd in his set. Letterman was known for his quick wit and ability to handle tough situations. It was clear that Hicks's rebellious act made him feel bad. It was clear that Hicks's honest, anti-establishment comedy didn't fit in with The Late Show's more standard, family-friendly style. Hicks was kicked off the show because of this, which was a turning point in his career. He had gone too far and pushed too hard, and he made things worse with one of the biggest late-night TV shows. You could picture Bill Hicks going on the Dr. Phill show. Dr. Phil's show is all about giving people useful advice, helping them deal with their problems, and leading them to grow as people. But Hicks's controversial and highly charged humor wouldn't work in that setting. Hicks would have turned the talk into a political battleground instead of focusing on personal healing and understanding. This would have turned off the audience and made the show less useful. Political or intellectual rants don't belong on Dr. Phill. He doesn't have time or space for them. He's there to help people work out their own problems, not for people to use his stage to criticize society or get involved in politics. Dr. Phill would have quickly seen that Hicks's goals did not fit with the point of his show. It would have been time for Hicks to leave the stage as soon as he went from thinking about himself to criticizing society. Dr. Phil's focus on problem-solving talks would not have let Hicks use the hostile, anti-establishment language that she liked so much. It's clear that Hicks had an impact on comedy, but he wouldn't have fit in on the Dr. Phill show. Number 01. Charlie Sheen. A lot of people knew Charlie Sheen from his parts in 2.5 Men and Platoon. But in 2011, his life took a sudden and chaotic turn. There were rumors about his behavior that turned into a public meltdown that caught the attention of the media. Tabloids quickly filled with stories about Sheen's famous winning antics, which included weird interviews, wild parties, and acting in strange ways. His claims of having tiger blood and his fixation on winning were part of a strange story that seemed to show that a once promising career was falling apart. The whole world was shocked as Sheen's private life became public. His behavior became more and more unstable, making him a symbol of star excess gone wrong. Think about Charlie Sheen going on the Dr. Phill show. Dr. Phill, who is known for being direct and skilled as a therapist, loves helping people get through their problems with a focus on real, lasting change. Sheen's unpredictable tantrums and public acts of self-destruction would go against Dr. Phil's ideas right away. Dr. Phil's show is meant to offer support, understanding, and useful tips, not to encourage or allow bad behavior. In talks, Sheen often seemed crazy and unhinged, with a clear lack of understanding of how serious his personal problems were. It seems like his winning mantra wasn't really about improving himself, but about reinforcing his own fantasies, which isn't what Dr. Phill wants for his patients. In that case, Dr. Phill would have known right away that Sheen's actions were not only careless, but also risky. Dr. Phill has made it clear that the goal of his show is to help people, especially those who are having problems with harmful substances or mental health, make real progress in their lives. Sheen's pranks, on the other hand, would take away from the show's main goal. Sheen's crazy behavior would get in the way of the show's focus on personal healing and reflection, rather than giving useful help or a way forward. Guests who aren't ready to work on themselves, those who use the show to hurt themselves instead of helping themselves, will not be allowed to be on Dr. Phill. It was hard to see how bad fame can be when Sheen went downhill in public, and Dr. Phil's dedication to mental health and well-being would not let him be a helper. Even though Sheen's actions were in the news, it was clear that he had greater problems. People who were trying to get better and get help wouldn't have had time or space for Sheen's dangerous acts on Dr. Phil's show. It's hard to walk the walk when you're famous. When Dr. Phill helps unhappy stars, it's always with the goal of change, not for the sake of showmanship. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Click on the next video popping up on your screen for more shocking stories about celebrity drama. Stay tuned for more.